Hey guys, so here is another replay review. This case we're going to be looking at Zeratul, and the person that I'm coaching, he wanted to share a little bit about the ranks. He said it was a competitive game against a team much better than us, plat average, we are low gold average. So there's a few things when approaching teams that are higher ranked than you on average. There's a lot of tricks to punch above your MMR, to say the least. One of the first things that you want to do is don't get in your head about it. The difference between gold and platinum is very small. I think I went from I've done multiple like bronze to masters. I did one in every role, and I noticed that mechanics, meaning people's ability to land their skill shots, um, was generally about the same from like silver to high diamond. It wasn't until about masters and challengers where you started seeing things that you wouldn't see in any other rank. What really made the difference is that people would do more and more things to get leads throughout the ranks. And when you get to like diamond, all the standard things that should be done in a game are being done. So, for example, in bronze to platinum, I might say, oh, well, just make sure that you're soaking every lane, you're you're getting camps off cooldown, and you are showing up to every objective with full health, full mana, and a fountain available. Those are things that everyone can improve on all the way up to like masters. But most games, the diamond players, diamond master, grandmaster, will have those down. And it's fewer there are fewer opportunities to abuse those. That's when you need to start getting into like freezing and zoning and like ways that have smaller methods of getting leads. This is where like there's lane priorities. So if you're a solo laner that's double soaking and you can plan out the waves to where the enemy has to clear the wave further from the objective while you're clearing the wave that's closer to the objective. Right as an objective spawns, you get to an objective before the enemy solo laner, and you get a force of 5v4. You get into like tinier things that lead to leads that are a little bit more difficult to do, and so that's kind of how you make that final difference. At your rank, gold versus plat, I would imagine you're playing with a coordinated team, or else you wouldn't be this far of a difference in rank. If you're just queuing in, then the ranks should be averaged. But if you're playing against a competitive team and you've got a competitive team, the way that you punch above your rank is coordination and combos. Um, what I mean by that is you coordinate who's going to be doing what. You plan out basically the first few minutes of the game so that your team has a lead, and you plan out what you're going to do with that lead. To start, I don't really like your team's composition. My reasoning for this is that Chromie's damage hits a lot of frontline, and it's kind of chaotic damage. It doesn't go exactly where you need it to go. Sometimes people call like Chromie and poke heroes unimpactful damage, because if it's damage that can be healed back up before it's relevant, it's unimpactful damage. And Chromie alone isn't a bad hero, but when you have Chromie and then you have Zeratul, you're you're putting a lot of emphasis on Zeratul to be able to do quite a bit. Now, there's a few things you can do with Zeratul. You can go like a Void Prison build. If you're in a coordinated environment, you can Void Prison 2 or 3 members of the enemy team. If you get up to 5, that would be awesome. Um, and then you follow it up with something. So, say for example, in your team, you could do Void Prison into a Deckard route, or Deckard Sleep even, where the Deckard sets up his sleep. You VP a few people. Deckard walks up. He starts doing sleep. You turn off your VP. Then you could have Blaze go in with a stun, but that's about all the damage you can do, right? You can do a Q, Chrome, you can do QW. Is that enough to close out a game, or close out a team fight? No, it's really not. If the people that I like to do VP combos with is like you have like VP APOC, and then you have a lot of damage dealers. I generally like to have Zeratul in the solo lane, and then have a really heavy frontline tank like Diablo. Diablo can handle solo tanking, and then you could have a lot of damage VP APOC, and it gives your team a full like 2 to 3 seconds of just DPS. Or I like to go with like a Jaina, someone who can ramp up her damage for short periods of time. She could follow up with a Ring of Frost on your VP. You turn off VP, and then she can use Icy Veins to ramp up her damage for about 6 seconds, as if you would have like 2 or 3 damage dealers. So there are methods to making like one damage dealer work, but Chromie's generally not one of them. Chromie is going to be looking more for poke this game, where you're likely going to be looking for more for burst. So there is a way around this, and I apologize for everyone kind of sitting here for 5 minutes. Um, you can go a Might of the Nerazim build. A what is it? A Might of the Nerazim allows you to reset your abilities, and it also makes it to where after using an ability, you do more damage to the basic attack. So there are several versions of this build, but the auto attack build is the one that people standardly use with Might of the Nerazim because you have enough damage to kill backliners on your own. So what'll happen is you're going to use kind of Chromie and Imperius to and Blaze to kind of distract the enemies, get them a little low, and you're going to pick one target that doesn't have an escape, and you're going to jump on them and do their entire health pool in one short fight. It generally in the auto attack build, it's about 3 seconds you can kill a backliner. Now, 3 seconds, once you get to 20, this gets down to about a second, second and a half, depending on how good you are with these skills. But about 3 seconds, you can kill a backliner if they don't get healed. So if you see a lot of the healing go out to try to save whoever gets speared, then you can jump on one of these 3 targets, kill them quickly, and then back off, get some of your abilities back, and be ready to go back in. You need to decide really quickly which direction you're going. Are you going a VP build? Do you have the follow up to kill the targets that you VP? Are you likely to VP some targets, and do they have some answers to VP? Some of the best answers are like, um, even Tyrael's Sanctification can be good. Bunker can be good. Gust can be good because they can gust you away when you VP. There's a lot of answers to VP, but overall, you need to kind of decide how the fights are going to go and if it's going to be worth it. Both are a possibility this game, but I personally don't know if you have enough follow-up to VP to make it worth going into that build, where I think the chaos of your team would be better to just go into a Might of the Nerazim build. Both are definitely viable, but you've got to decide really quick. Now, the next thing we need to be looking at is what should you be doing in the early game. Blaze can double soak as early as level 1. The rest of your team really can't double soak. As far as who's going to be doing camps, your camp clear and Chromie's camp clear are going to be very similar. You'll probably still want Deckard to help you out. So you need to be thinking about that really early on. Who's covering all the waves? Who's getting the camps? Because you want to get, at the very least, your camps early so you get an experienced lead. And you want to imagine who you can kill early game too. Is there targets that you can kill early with your team? If a spear is landed and Chromie throws an ability, you can likely kill any one of these 3 people if you're there. If Blaze is in the solo lane and he lands a stun, before level 13, he doesn't have a lot of damage. So do you have the damage to kill Leoric? No. If Leoric's at half health, maybe. You need to kind of think that through before wasting time going and trying to kill targets you can't kill. So your options are 3-person kill comp, or your options are looking for camps or covering a lane. I generally wouldn't recommend Zeratul covering a lane if he's the solo laner, unless he's the solo laner, because you have a stealth hero with a lot of potential for roaming, and so you generally want to be roaming, either double soaking or potentially getting camps if no one else can do it. But that's really the direction I would want to be going, is grabbing camps, trying to 3-person kill comp with these 3 or with these 3. You could potentially do with just you, Deckard, and Imperius, or you, Deckard, and Blaze, if you have the right abilities and the right talents. So as far as the build, there's a few different builds you can go. Let me see which direction you start going, and I can go from there. Because if you choose the VP direction, there's a build for that. Generally just the Q build. with variations on 7. And you go the Q build because if you Q people and then you VP and you have Void Slash, you'll have your Q back up by the time you turn off your VP, so you get a huge chunk of damage again. So you can Q, VP, wait for your team to show up, turn off VP, Q again, and you add a lot of extra damage to the fight. But if you're going to be going auto attack, people generally like to go Shadow Hunter. The reason why, and it does sound like you're going auto attack, so as this game goes off on the beginning, I've already talked about what you should be doing in the early portions of the game. So I'm going to be talking about the build for a little bit for everyone that's here. So Shadow Hunter. The reason people like going Shadow Hunter is every time you get a globe, you're going to be lowering the mana cost of your blink. And when you get all your globes, your basic attacks reduce the cooldown of blink. So how the auto attack build works with Shadow Hunter is you get your globes by double soaking. So early game, you get 15 globes pretty quickly. And then you're going to jump on people and you're going to attack them. And with the cooldown of your blink being 10 seconds and your attack speed being a little bit more than 1 attack per second, it means that you're shaving off essentially 2.5 seconds every second. So it makes your cooldown be about 4 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds. And like I said, it'll be about 4 seconds, but when you activate any attack speed increases, it'll be 3 seconds. So like I said, in this build, your goal is to jump in, kill a backliner in 3 seconds, and jump away. So that's your level 1. Level 4, people generally take Darkness Descends, but you can get away with Psionic Strength. Dealing damage to a hero ramps up all damage you deal up to 30%. Because you're jumping in and you're going to be getting a W, a Q, and generally a couple auto attacks, your next Q will do a lot more damage. Your next Q is in 6 seconds, though. And since you've already done your W, that ramp up tends to be a little too slow for most people, so they go Darkness Descends instead. Passive gain 20% attack speed, activate to gain 40% attack speed. So you can get 60% bonus attack speed with Darkness Descend for 5 seconds, which, if you combine that with the fact that you're lowering your teleport cooldown, you'll have your teleport up rather quickly. And so you can jump in, do a lot of damage really quick, and then jump out. Under 5 seconds, you should lead to a kill. So it's generally Darkness Descends is the next talent you take here. Psionic Strength does gain some value, though, if you go Might of the Nerazine. You can throw a W on someone, a Q, or teleport in, and again, you're fighting too much when there's waves available, when there's camps available. I told you what your early game should be, and you generally don't want to be fighting too much outside of maybe looking to follow up on a spear here and there. So you can go Psionic Strength because you can get your second cast of something, but does 50% less damage, so increasing it by 30%, you're just doing 80% damage on your next ability, which is okay. It's the auto attack benefits that are more valuable here, and having a faster auto attack means you can teleport, activate your Darkness Descend, you can auto attack W, auto attack Q, auto attack, and then you can Vorpal Blade to stick to him a little bit longer if needed. And that's going to be so much stronger than going Psionic Strength within the 3 seconds. Now, Psionic Strength can be really powerful if you stick to a target for even longer, but if you're sticking to a target even longer, auto attack and having faster auto attacks is going to be more valuable anyways. So I recommend auto attack build for that kind of solo kill potential in these comps, at least. There are a lot of potential builds for Psionic Strength that can be very strong, like the W builds, but I wouldn't recommend them too much right now in this current meta. Okay, so again, this early build, you guys are fighting too much. You don't have that sustained damage to take these long fights. You should be looking at getting macro advantage by double soaking, getting camps, and only communicating with your team when the enemies are getting out of position, and you can follow up on stuns. Your team doesn't have enough sustained damage to get through their friend line. You just don't. You don't have an auto attacker. You don't have like a Greymane. You don't have someone like a Sylvanas that can just rip through percent health. You don't have anything like that. And because you don't have anything like that, you shouldn't be taking constant fights. You need to get a macro advantage, avoid fights, and look for picks. That's all you can do in the early game. All this time is wasted that you could be soaking top. All this soaks missed. All this, I mean, you still have 2 camps that are available that anyone could be working on. And can't really do much here. The only one who can really clear this safely is Chromie. So Chromie needs to clear this, and you need to be getting soaked someplace. All this time is just wasted time. It's another example. So you threw your W first. When you're playing in this build, you generally just want to blink in. You want to stay stealth as long as possible until you're in range where you can blink to get 1 auto attack. And then if they ever want to jump away, you always have Vorpal Blade to jump back onto them. But your goal really is going to be to jump onto someone, the W, and then the W is going to slow them, right? So you can stick to them for 3 seconds because your W is slowing them. So you jump W, auto attack, and if you have to use Vorpal Blade to catch back up after the slow goes off with the explosion, you can do that. Vorpal Blade, Q, couple auto attacks. And that's usually when you want to pop that Darkness Descent and just smack, and kill a target, and then just jump away. Now, you generally want to teleport in, get an auto attack. That gets the first trigger of Might of the Nerazim. And then you want to W and auto attack. If they get away, because they're not slowed yet, you might W and then Vorpal Blade, auto attack, Q, auto attack, and then I generally would Might of the Nerazim your Q. It's not as much damage as Might of the Neraziming your W, but it's instant, and you get another proc of Might of the Nerazim to get that second auto attack off with the empowered, and then you just smack them a couple more times while they're still slowed for 3 seconds, and you jump away. I can show it in try mode afterwards to show you the damage potential, and then you can click on targets and see kind of how much health they have, and see if it's worth doing that to different targets. So at level 7, there is a lot of preference, and that's my notification, not yours. Let me turn off my social. I'll just leave it on for now. There's a lot of preference here. I've heard so many disagreements about which direction people like to go. Seeker in the Dark is really, really good. It gives you some extra movement speed, while if you choose to teleport to the target. It takes longer for it to explode. I personally don't like it in auto attack build because it takes longer to explode, and the slow only goes off when it explodes. So that means that they can run to their team faster because it's going to take 1.5 seconds to explode, and you don't have that time or ability to want to do that. So I personally like taking Warp Skirmisher. What this does, it gives you second charge on your teleport, and it makes it to where whenever you cloak, your next basic attack does more damage. And so you get to jump on someone and get even more burst initially, and you get more sticking ability, which, because you're taking Shadow Hunter, you can use your Vorpal Blade to keep jumping in there and getting kills, and then use your teleport to get out. So I personally recommend Warp Skirmisher instead of Seeker in the Dark in this build. Now, you're going Seeker because you're going the W variant with Psionic Strength. W variant can be really good when you get to 16 because you're doing bonus damage the entire fight. But I don't recommend it in the current meta. It requires the absolute perfect play. And you don't really need it. Auto attack Zeratul right now does enough damage. You can kill backliners without needing to land any abilities. And if you can kill backliners without needing to land any abilities, why would you make things harder on yourself for the chance of doing a little bit more damage? So the reason why you'd want to go like a W version of it instead is because you can kill nearly any target. You can kill tanks, you can kill bruisers, you can kill anyone if you do this properly. But your power spikes are moved so much further back. So in order to get that kill potential, it moves your things down to like 16 and 20 instead of just having it as early as level 7 where you can just jump on a target multiple times and lead to kills. So you don't want to move your kill potential so far back. This build still does a lot of damage, but you just need to remember none of these, I mean, this is increasing your damage, this isn't, you know? This is making you stick to a target better, where this one you have to land a W to be able to go in. So I know people do like to go this if they're going to go VP, but I don't know. I would say if you're in Q build, you definitely could because you're using your W to jump in, so you have your jump out. But I don't know. It's all preference on how you want to handle it. So you guys are turning in. When you're down level 10s, I mean, your big thing, if you're down level 10s, you generally want to avoid fighting. You want to soak, get as much value. They can take whatever they want to because they could just jump on you guys. Your big thing that caused you guys to get here is wanted to fight too much with a comp that couldn't fight. Again, I wouldn't join your team here. I would soak these 2 lanes and try to get 10s. Your team's going to die with or without you, and this is all wasted time. Now, if you're down like 3 levels, your only option is to look for picks. But because you're only down 1 level, the experience difference probably isn't worth it. Level 7 to 10 waves are around the same amount of experience as a kill, so you could have just gotten 2 waves. It would have been probably about the same amount of experience, but you wouldn't have had to risk anything. For example, if you jumped away and he entombed you, like, you just die. Now that you're 10, your plan should kind of come into motion. You go Might of the Nerazim, and you should be, as long as you know the combos well, you should be able to really chunk. The other thing that's interesting about Psionic Strength, I've always thought that it would be better to go like greater. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. You can go whatever it wants. Just because you need to hit more people. Every damage that you do to heroes ramps up the thing. So if you jump in and hit 5 heroes, Psionic Strength, then your next ability, your W, is going to do more damage, right? So this is where it's a little challenging in this build to lead to a kill. They were all clumped together, and this is why you in the Mind of the Nerazim, when you're in a comp like this, you need to jump in with chaos. When your enemies distract everyone and they're all kind of doing their own thing, that's when you're going to jump in. Now, you can kind of get away with it if you jump in, auto attack a few times, get a reset on your blink, and jump out. And that's kind of the best thing that you can do, but now you can't really do anything in this fight, so it's better to wait a little bit until there's a bit of chaos. It just wasn't an amazing fight to jump into, but that's okay. Again, can you do much against 4 people right there? No. You probably should be pushing out top and forcing them to split up. That's another reason why you want to be doing so much more macro in the early game, is you want to split the enemies up so you can abuse the fact that the enemies... the Zeratul is one of the best like one-on-one heroes, especially if you go the auto attack. So you want to spread the enemies out. Do you see now they're sending a couple people to react? Well, if you were pushing each lane, if your team was pushing each lane, they would have to spread out to answer it. If they all go together, then you guys get to push out and get some structure damage. And if they spread out, then you can look for picks. You can see there's 1 person down here, there's 3 people up here, 4 people up here. Yeah, this should be a good kill now. Nice job. So that's what you want to do. You want to spread the enemies out, force them to go in different directions, and when they try to meet back up, you're going to get some free kills. You should be trying to do that all game long. So the way you force that is macro. You force the enemies to spread out because they have to answer everything that you're doing. So your mistake in the early game was that your team didn't focus on macro. You guys focused heavily on fighting when you couldn't fight. So if you focus more heavily on macro in the early game, you look for picks throughout the game, it's going to be a lot easier. They don't have a healer, so Chromie should be able to just kind of take over in these fights, and they're not going to take some heavy engages. So Chromie can poke them, and you guys need to just go right back to macro and maybe look for a second turn-in. And you could even maybe stealth in like a turn-in area right here, and if they try to just have like a single person turn in, like a Rhaegar or someone, you can just kill the Rhaegar really quick. If they send like 4 people to turn in, then you can maybe interrupt them and then teleport away. But that would be my recommendation. Right now, you're double soaking to try to get your team 13s. Chromie can stall for a while. And it looks like you guys all should be fine. How long did he take? Rejuve pot. Okay. Again, your team, you can't fight with your team right now. They're all way too low. You just keep double soaking. It's frustrating that you have so much time that it seems like nothing can get done, but that's just the case. When you're behind, you have to make a lot of like risky trades. You basically have to say, hey, my team's getting destroyed in another lane. If I join, can we even win the fight? If we can't win the fight, it's better to just get as much value elsewhere as you can. Level 13, there's a lot of different talents that people can take. Generally, auto attack Zeratools go the Mending Strikes. Spell damage Zeratools either go Shroud or Spell Shield, depending on the enemy team. I would say against their team, I would go Spell Shield. And you can toggle it off and then toggle it on if you're about to get hit by Pyroblast. And that's probably the direction I would go in your build, but I would recommend going auto attack build otherwise. So yeah, in your current build, because you don't have that much like allowing you to get auto attacks all the time, it's better to go Spell Shield. It's a good teleport. You grab the fountain. This is actually pretty good. It's just that you're not hitting them enough. But it was good to jump around. You made a miss as W. You were able to still hit a fountain and kind of go back in. Ooh, that's pretty good. So right now, you guys are just so far behind because of the early game that it kind of turns into an unwinnable situation. The only way to get back from this, and the reason why I'm pausing it, I'll just leave it going. I'll switch to faster. The only thing you can really do in a situation like this is start looking for picks. When you're at a 2 to 3 level deficit, kills are worth the most experience to get you back in the game. So the way that you do that is you try to force the enemies to answer something crazy. You generally take a crazy risk, like grab 3 camps bot to force them to go bot, right? So while they were doing boss, you would have grabbed like this camp and this camp at the same time. Now you try to defend against boss, and if you can, that's awesome, because then they need to answer all these camps that you sent bot, right? While they go to answer those, you look for picking off stragglers here and there. And that's really all you can do when you're this far behind. In this case, you guys jump in. You're going for the backliners. They see you, but they can't reveal you yet. Furious got a kill. You go for a W, and then you jump to a different target. Oh, you might not have landed the W. You got your E back off cooldown. And you did go the auto attack talent here. Yeah, so your build is a little wonky. You guys did defend pretty well, but again, it's kind of a done deal. All the enemies have to do now is not throw. So I'm actually going to close out this one. I mean, I know a lot of people in the comments always say, like, why don't you finish the games? But I do want to close this off, and I want to go to try mode and just show you the damage potential. Of an easier build. So they just backdoor while you guys are working on covering lanes. Yeah. So we're gonna quit the replay, and I'll have to log back in really quick. There's a few things I want to show. So one, the build you were going was close to a version of the Twilight build, right? If you're unfamiliar with the Twilight build, let me find the okay. So I need to mute this really quick. So this is I don't know if I need to mute this. So this right here is Twilight. And Twilight plays a Zeratul that can 100 to 0 most heroes in the game while staying very, very mobile. Your build's kind of a version of that, but it's... The auto attack build is going to be a lot riskier, but it's going to be a lot more consistent. So in order to play like Twilight, you'd have to, one, play a lot of Zeratul. Let me log back in. You'd have to play a lot of Zeratul, like a ton of Zeratul, and you need to practice that like crazy. But all that does is makes you a little bit more mobile, and it does a similar amount of damage. Maybe I think W build does a little bit more if you change the order of abilities. Like he played it more for the flashiness, that he was harder to read. But you can play the build and be a little bit more damage. But the auto attack build is very consistent. When you want to kill, you get a kill. And so I want to show you the damage potential of and just the bread and butter combo, what you should be doing and how much damage it equates to. So the first thing I want to do is just show you level 7, because the power spike is a lot earlier. We'll just throw, who was on the enemy team? There was a Sylvanas. We'll throw a Sylvanas. So you grab Shadow Hunter, Darkness Descend, and we're going to go Warp Skirmisher, right? And we are going to complete the quest because you had it done around 7, and you should have it done around 7. And so Sylvanas has 2,100 health, right? Similar to ours, 2,170. We have 2,136. So the way that this build works is you're going to jump directly on a target, and you're going to get 1 auto attack. So you always want to jump in range of 1 auto attack because we want to be able to use Vorpal Blade to stick to the target. And we're going to try to alternate our abilities a little bit. So for example, we're going to jump, auto attack W, auto attack Q, auto attack, right? Couple more auto attacks while we've got that extra attack speed, and that's it. 1,657 damage. So we wouldn't kill a Sylvanas, but we also didn't use our Vorpal Blade. So if we ever need to jump back, we can jump back and kill the target whenever we want to. And we have 2 charges of it, so it's really easy to stick to the target. So you can do about 75% of a backliner's health if you do this properly. Level 10, on the other hand, is when your kill potential arises very, very quickly, and your damage is much higher. And you got to remember, I also focus on 3 seconds at a time, and I didn't pop Dark Descent either. So Vorpal Blade and Might of the Nerazine. And so now how this combo works is this. You're going to teleport, auto attack, W, auto attack, Q, auto attack, and as they're getting away, you'll have 2 charges of Vorpal Blade. They'll be slowed by 30%, and you can increase your attack speed by 40%. And it's really easy to kill a target. And that's without even casting Cleave. Okay? Well, your Might of the Nerazine Cleave. So the full damage potential of this build in 3 seconds, right? You're going to teleport, auto W, auto Q, auto R, auto. And then you'll be popping your Darkness Descent. Now keep in mind, that was 2 seconds because I still had time. I still had 2 extra seconds on my cleave. Well, I had 4 extra seconds on my cleave cooldown. So we want to get a few more attacks off. So the full combo, if you do it quickly, you're going to be popping your Darkness Descent right as you go in. So you could even, if you want, you could even pop it earlier. It doesn't take you out of stealth. You can pop it earlier, go in, and get a couple more auto attacks, and then you're out, right? 2,600 damage, and she has 2,400 health. So you can do that quick. Now, when we're at 13, and we can even go to 16, we're gonna watch how much healing we gain throughout this too, because that's the other aspect of this, is that this build is all auto attack based. Auto attack talent, auto attack talent, auto attack talent, auto attack talent. Auto attack heals you based on the damage you deal, and your auto attacks do more every 3rd attack. So if you wanted to jump onto Sylvanas, let me take some damage. To say I wanted to jump on this Sylvanas, I could jump on Sylvanas, and I can gain a lot of my health back. So let me do the whole combo sitting at 40% health, and I'll show you how much. Let's auto cooldowns, and I'll show you how much potential healing you can get. So we're going to activate our attack speed, jump on. Look at this attack speed, and look at this health that I'm gaining, right? And you got to remember, I can always Vorpal back to anyone that I want, and I have no cooldown on my E, so I can jump away whenever I want. I did 7,000 damage and gained half my health bar back. And so I could kill 2 different people in their backline at level 16. So the reason why I like this auto attack build is your kill pressure at a target that you're, when you're double soaking, if you catch a target that your allies are already attacking, you can kill them as early as level 7. Level 10, you can kill any backliner without anyone on your team helping out. And by level 16, you can kill 2 backliners at a time, and if the fight goes long, it's the best Zeratul build for a fight going long. And then at level 20, you can go Twilight Falls, or you could go Shadow Strike, which is a really fun talent that I like. Reduce the cooldown of Vorpal Blade by 10 seconds, making it a 5-second cooldown. Casting it gives you a shield. So you already have one of the best long-term builds for a fight, and you already have enough burst to kill backliners. But now, every time you jump to a target, you're getting a shield for like 15% of your health. It's really, really strong. So you can do that, or you could do like basic attacks, lower your W cooldown, and that would allow you to keep throwing W's on targets and slowing them, or you could even just reset all your basic abilities, which would keep you in the fight longer. All of the talents level 20 are good for this build, but I personally like that Shadow Stride. I think it's so good. But this build is going to be a lot more carry potential on your own, and you don't lose any macro potential at all. In fact, you get more macro potential because this only ramps up your damage to heroes, but this can help you clear camps. So if you needed to clear a camp really quick, you can increase your attack speed, and we can... Let me toggle the cooldowns really quick. You can use your E and everything to... it's not toggle cooldown, it's complete quest. And remember that this is increasing reducing the cooldown on auto attack, so you use it on camps too, because you're going to be getting the cooldown reduction, and you're doing that because of the Might of Nerazim extra damage. So you can clear camps pretty quickly at level 10. Even at level 4, you can pop that to speed up your camp clear a little bit. But yeah, there are a lot of more... there's just a lot more agency in this build than a lot of the other Zeratul builds right now. If you're in a coordinated environment, though, and you're going to get away with picking Zeratul, I generally try to recommend drafting around Void Prison. And then if they counter Void Prison, you can always change builds. But that's my personal belief, is Void Prison is game-changing in a coordinated environment. UVP, 3 people, and you land a Ring of Frost and an APOC, like, that game's over. That game's just over. And you get to take whatever you want after a fight like that. This build, you're only going to lead to 1 or 2 kills per fight. And before they kind of realize what's going on. But the other thing I want to share about this build, you're going to need a lot of limit testing, because especially at 13 when you get a ton of healing, or 20 when you have shield and healing, you need to know what your limits are, because it's one of those heroes where if you know the exact limit, you can 1v1 like 70% of the heroes in the game, and you can even 1v2 several heroes. And you need to remember that the way that this build works, you can jump away every time that you have Vorpal Blade available. So the build, you're going to jump in kind of like this. Say they've got a backline like this, and you're going to sneak around from a flank, and you want to kill this target. You can pop your attack speed, jump in, quickly go through, kill this target, jump away, jump back in after hitting another target, get your attack speed back, jump away, jump back in, and lead to another kill. And so there's multiple ways of getting in and out of the fights if there's abilities. So you really want to abuse the fact that you have a low cooldown on Blink and you have multiple charges of Vorpal Blade. Because that ability to be able to jump in, quickly go for a kill, and then jump out and jump back in and finish off the target is something that like no other hero can get away with. And so really abuse the fact that you've got a low cooldown on Blink, you've got Vorpal Blades, and after like 13... and 16, you're gaining a ton of life. So yeah, that's Zeratul in a nutshell. That's the Zeratul I recommend if you're just trying to carry games. Focus on that macro in the early game. Look for just picks for people that are getting kind of low. Don't look for heavy team fights. And if you do find team fights, you want to try to wait until the team fights spread apart a little bit. People have used some more abilities, so you can jump in, get a kill or two, and then jump out. If you get to like the later versions of this build, you can kill people that, I mean, have a lot more survivability. like let's say Rhaegar, who has more health and has healing, we can jump on this Rhaegar and take him out relatively quickly. So I know this is kind of another 40-minute video, but I really wanted to share the little details. I never like just replay coaching without showing people, because replay coaching just shows people what they shouldn't be doing. I want to show people what they should be doing, right? And that's what you should be doing. And you still have your teleport to get out of the fight too, and you still have two Vorpal Blade charges to get back into the fight, right? So as long as I showed you what you shouldn't be doing and what you should be doing, you should be in a much better spot to take Zeratul into games, stomp teams. But keep in mind about how squishy he is and how weak he is in the early game. Double soak, camps, and look for picks. Look for people that are 1v1ing. You're going to jump on them, lead to a quick kill, and then go back to macro and go back to everything else. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Feel free to check out my other videos.